Cadillac has been on kind of a roll with its electric vehicles lately. The Lyriq is one of the hottest selling luxury EVs on the market. They followed that up with the Optiq, a smaller, more affordable crossover. There's even an electric version of the Escalade called the IQ. Well, now a fourth model has joined the lineup. Say hello to the 2026 Cadillac Vistiq. This is a three-row crossover that is bigger than a Lyriq, but smaller than the Cadillac Escalade IQ, and this thing spiritually replaces the old Cadillac XT6, which really never got an update during its life cycle. Is this thing a worthy successor to the XT6, and is this now one of the most compelling three-row luxury EVs on the market? In this video, we're gonna find out. Now, straight away, as you look at the Vistiq, you're going to see a lot of styling cues shared with the Lyriq, including the light signature. I went ahead and unlocked it. You're going to see it's going to do a pretty cool lighting animation where it starts at the grille, goes to the headlight, and then waterfalls down the main headlight like so. Pretty cool lighting stuff here on the Vistiq. I love how Cadillac has been doing this with a lot of their electric models. I'm loving the radiant red tint coat here on this model. It is the most expensive paint color that you can get, I believe, on the Vistiq, but there are some other really nice ones. There's a nice blue, there's kind of a nice purple-ish color available on the Vistiq as well. So Cadillac actually didn't hold back in terms of colors, which is kind of nice. In terms of wheel options, 21-inch wheels are going to be the standard. There are optional wheels here on this sport trim as well, so these are not the only wheels that you can get on the sport trim of the Vistiq. There are 22-inch wheels available, and if you step all the way up to the platinum trim, you can get 23-inch wheels. Now you'll notice the area surrounding those wheels is finished in a gloss black. We also have the optional gloss black roof, so gives this car kind of a really cool, kind of squished appearance, kind of lowers it visually for you as well. If you opt for the platinum trim, the top trim level, you're going to get that black roof as standard, and then the black wheel arches are going to be finished in body color. That is the only way to get body color, is to step all the way up to the top platinum trim level. It's also the only way to get those 23-inch wheels that I mentioned. Now, the funny thing about that platinum trim is it does come in black. So you're paying more money in that trim level to get a black roof and to get body colored fenders, but then if you get black, you're almost erasing that extra money you spent. So my personal opinion, if you are going to get a Vistiq Platinum, get it in any other color besides black, or else you're kind of wasting your money. Now, the one we're driving is the Sport I mentioned, which is only slightly different from the base luxury trim level. You get a little black lip here on the grille instead of a chrome one, and then you get some black trim here around the windows instead of chrome. It's very subtle. You almost have to look at them side by side to really tell the difference. Now, in terms of size on this car, if you are wondering, it is significantly longer than the old Cadillac XT6, which was only 198.5 inches long. This is 205.5 inches long with a 128.8 wheelbase. The XT6 only had a 113-inch wheelbase. So this is significantly longer overall and in terms of the wheelbase. I like this kind of decal pattern that they have on the rear glass here. Just adds kind of an interesting touch. And I am kind of a fan of the taillights. Not my favorite, but we do have this kind of split design where we have the taillight up here and then the main taillight down here. These do a really cool lighting animation at night as well. Loving the lighting animations. You know, the more lights you have, kind of the cooler I think the lighting animation looks at night. And then we just have our simple model badge letting us know that it is a Vistiq. And then Cadillac is still doing this silly thing where they put the Newton meters of torque here on the back. It's such a useless number to know. Now let's check out the inside of the Vistiq, where this is a very premium place to be. Now, this sport trim is actually one of the lower models. It's not any different from the luxury trim in terms of feature content. So basically everything you're about to see does come standard on all Vistiqs. We've got these really nice seats that you can get in either black or gray on the lower trims. Opting for the premium luxury opens up a blue interior that's absolutely gorgeous, and the platinum does have an available brown interior with a new luxe interior that is a little bit nicer leather than this. Those upper trims do have a little bit of a different pattern than this, but these seats are still really good. They are heated and ventilated with a massage. We do have speakers here in the headrest. This is a Cadillac thing, and we do have a really big panoramic roof as standard that opens as well, which is really nice. And then here on this sport trim, we do have kind of this carbon fiber finish that I think actually looks quite good. It has kind of a bronze color to it, which is quite nice. We have our controls for the seats here on the door that both move them, heated and ventilated seats, and then the massage switch is over here. As we step in, you're going to see the 33-inch curved display. No start button. All you have to do is put your foot on the brake to turn it on. And we explore the screen here. We've got a touch screen over here that shows your trip information. You can also use it to configure the layout of this screen. This is the main gauge cluster. You can have an energy one. You can have your Google Maps up here. You can have your assists, or you can have kind of a clean function. There are some more things that you can do here if you get the higher trim levels. There is a night vision option. Unfortunately, we do not have it, nor do we have the really nice augmented reality head-up display that I've heard very good things about. We do not have it here on this sport trim. Our main screen is going to be over here. It does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, just like the other recent GM electric vehicles. Unfortunately, the Lyriq is the only one that still has Apple CarPlay, which I think is kind of a bummer. We do at least have really nice cameras that do come standard here on this trim. I'm hoping they do some updates to this to make the texting a little bit better, because that's my big gripe with it, is that the texting is not quite as good as what you get from Apple CarPlay. We do also have a lower screen down here. This controls your climate, your fans. You can actually activate your seat controls, even though we do have redundant buttons for them up there. You can also turn on the massage and all of that good stuff down here. I don't love this as much as I like the button controls that are available on the Lyriq. They're just a little bit simpler to use, but I don't dislike this. It's really not a problem. We do have our cup holders right here. We also have a rotating knob that you can use to control this infotainment screen if you don't want to get your fingerprints all over it. And then we do have some really nice storage down here. Behind that screen, we do have our wireless charger down there as well. I believe we actually have 2 wireless chargers, so both sides are going to wireless charge your phone. And then we do have USB-Cs beyond that. And then we do have some lower storage as well. So they did put a lot of hidden storage down here. I'll bring up Super Cruise. We do have Super Cruise standard on the Vistiq, and some nice improvements to this that we'll see when we get it out on the road. And then the last thing I should mention is we do have a 23 speaker AKG audio system. It sounds really good. I mentioned the speakers in the headrest already. All of that comes standard on the Vistiq. Now, here in the back of the lower trim Vistiqs, you can get a bench seat, meaning that you can have up to 7 passengers here in the Lyriq, but we have the optional captain's chairs. They're $800 on these lower trims. The upper trims are going to just get them as standard. They are not power adjustable. They are manual. GM really doesn't love doing powered seats unless you're talking about the GMC Denali Ultimate or the Cadillac Escalade with the luxury rear seat package. So something that the Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 9 have that these don't. These are also heated seats, but they are not ventilated as they are in the Hyundai and the Kia products. Now, that's fine. We do have over 40 inches of legroom back here, which is really not that bad. We can slide and recline these seats as well. We have our own touch screen back here to control our climate. We have our heated seat buttons down here. You can also control the ambient lighting from back here. We've got our own air vents, USB ports, and we do have our cup holders that live in here with just a little bit of storage in this slide out drawer. I do wish we had some sunshades. This is a very expensive Cadillac, and I'm surprised they did not put sunshades here in the second row. Getting into the third row is pretty simple. We've got one button right here just go ahead and click it, and it is going to tilt this seat, and then you can kind of just do the rest to get it up, giving us a big opening. Now, as you can see, I did not put the third row up yet because I wanted to demonstrate that we do have 2 buttons here. There are identical buttons over there on that side, so if you did not remember to put the third row up, you do not have to go all the way into the trunk to put these seats up. There are only 2 of them back here. You cannot fit 3 people back here. But as you can see, the rear room is fine. I'm not going to go ahead and say it's amazing. It's a little over 30 inches. We do have air vents back here. We've got our cup holders as well. You can see that pattern from the inside. And we do have our own sunroof as well, which is kind of a nice touch. All of the legroom in here is a little bit better than the old Cadillac XT6. So if you have one of those now and you're wondering how this stacks up, it is bigger in all legroom dimensions compared to the old gas-powered XT6. Now, the same is also true for the cargo capacity, where the Vistiq is larger than the outgoing XT6 in all of the measurements except for second row. Behind the second row, it's only marginal, but in pretty much all the measurements that matter, this is bigger. We've got just over 15 cubic feet of space behind this third row. I'm not going to go ahead and say it's massive with the amount of space back here. It'd be a struggle to put a stroller behind people back here, but on the plus side, we do have a huge amount of storage underneath the floor here, so plenty of room for a charging cable and a backpack on top of that, no problem. And then it is very easy to fold these rear seats down, although the reason why this headrest is folded and this one isn't is to demonstrate an issue that I've noticed with this car. We do have the power folding third row here, standard on the Vistiq, and as you can see, because that headrest was already folded, it went down no problem. The seats are having kind of an issue where they don't know when to fold the headrest quite right, so they haven't been, which is a little bit annoying. Because we do not have fully powered second row seats, you can drop them manually. They are going to bump into that front seat sometimes, as you can see there, and then there is no way to get them back up from here in the back, although you can do so with the third row. With all of the seats folded, we've got 80.2 cubic feet of space. We've got 43 cubic feet behind the second row. That is bigger than the Cadillac XT6, which was not the biggest vehicle in its class. This is a little bit smaller than some of the other vehicles in its class, but it does have plenty of space back here. Now, before we get the Vistiq out on the road, I want to talk to you a little bit about the range as we wait for the motorized door to open up, and we see that we do have a CCS connector, not an NACS connector. GM has still not switched from CCS to NACS on any of its vehicles yet, so you can charge at a Tesla supercharger with this vehicle, but you are going to need an adapter. All versions of the Vistiq have a 102 kilowatt hour battery that's usable capacity. So same battery that you get in a Lyriq or a Chevy Blazer, and it gives you 300 miles of range, which is a nice number, especially considering that we have a dual motor setup and we do have a lot of power, as we'll find out when we get it out on the road. Now, in terms of charging speed, it's really not that great. 190 kilowatts is your peak. GM says you can add about 79 miles in 10 minutes of charging. You are probably going to be sitting at those DC fast chargers quite a while when you are road tripping this vehicle, unless you're only trying to grab a little bit of juice and go on your way. If you're trying to get up to 80% or even higher, you might be there for a really long time. I do wish GM would find a way to integrate 800-volt charging architectures into these smaller vehicles. Now, in terms of home charging, typically you're going to be charging at 11.5 kilowatts. That's going to give you 28.5 miles per hour of charging. However, you can also opt for a 19.2 kilowatt charger on this car. That's going to get you 46.7 miles per hour of charging. This is one of the fastest home charging electric vehicles. So if you're doing mostly home charging, that is something interesting. You do need a 100 amp box to be able to do that. So not everybody is going to be able to do that at their home, and not every Vistiq is going to be able to do it as well. So you actually need to add that module. It's $1,480, but it's free if you go up to the premium luxury trim. So $1,480 here on this sport trim and the base luxury trim, and that also doesn't include the cable. The cable is another $1,700, not including the installation of it, So you're looking at over $3,000, not including upgrading your breaker to handle that power. So not everybody is going to be able to do that. If you can afford a car like the Vistiq, maybe you can. Now the big difference is it's going to take your charging from about 10.5 hours at that 11.5 speed down to just 6.5 hours if you have the 19.2 kilowatt charger. So there is a really big difference there. That might be a reason why you want to opt for the premium luxury trim or the platinum trim, but you can add the 19.2 kilowatt module onto the lower trims if you want it. So now let's get the 2026 Cadillac Vistiq out on the road. And you've seen, as we walk around the outside and show the inside, that it is semi-comparable to the Cadillac XT6, which had a 3.6 liter gasoline engine that made 310 horsepower. Well, the Vistiq has quite a little bit more than that. It only comes in one configuration, a dual motor all-wheel drive setup, and we've got 615 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Now I've put it into its sport mode. I have the Velocity Max mode turned on with the little V here on the steering wheel. That's going to give me my max power. GM loves doing this thing where their EVs don't produce peak power all the time. So with Chevy, you have wide open watts, and with GMC, you have watts to freedom. And with Cadillac, you have this Velocity Max mode. So this should get us from 0 to 60 in about 3.7 seconds. But let's find out. Foot on the brake, foot on the gas. No alert that we have launch control, but it should get off the line really quickly. Ready? Whoa, yes! Whoa, that's a jolt. And that was 60. That was 60 in 4.18. Okay, so that's a little slower than Cadillac claimed, but woo, that was a jolt off the line. I'll see if I can do that one more time and see if we can get closer to that 3.7 second time, but oh boy. You know, it's funny, I had just driven the Hyundai Ioniq 9, which has like 422 horsepower, and it was definitely quick, but they had dialed the power back quite a lot so that it didn't, you know, shove you back like that. Well, as long as you turn on that Velocity Max mode, oh, yeah, you really get all of the available power instantly. Now, what happens when I turn off Velocity Max and I do the same thing? Yeah, still abrupt. Just not quite as immediate. Let's see if I turn off sport mode as well, because I was in sport mode. Okay, now there's a much more appreciable delay from when I hit the throttle to when I get the acceleration. So if you're just driving around in tour mode most of the time, you are going to have pretty gentle acceleration, although you still do have an immense amount of power. Trust me, the Vistiq never feels slow. Whoa, that's even in tour mode. No Velocity Max. This thing is incredibly quick for a 3-row crossover. And it's not just quick, it is really comfortable. We've got chassis damping control standard on all trim levels. The sport model that we are driving does not have the Air Ride adaptive suspension that is available, nor does it have the rear wheel steering. Those are both starting on the premium luxury, so you have to step up one more trim level to get those things. But even without it, this thing is very, very comfortable. We're about to go around some corners. Let me go ahead and put it back into sport mode so that the dampers are ready for such an event. And it handles pretty darn well. It does feel kind of like I'm just driving a bigger Lyriq, which is a vehicle that I enjoy very much. The steering effort tightens up just a little bit in sport mode, not too crazy, not as tight as the Hyundai Ioniq 9 gets in its sport mode. Hyundai loves doing really heavy steering. The chassis control is really well. This drives so much better than an XT6. If you are an XT6 owner and you're looking to replace it, this is going to feel like a different universe to you in terms of handling, in terms of power and performance, and then just in terms of this interior as well. Cadillac hadn't updated that XT6 in so long, and that V6 engine was pretty nice, but it is nothing compared to the full might. Whoa! Of over 600 horsepower from electric motors. Now at this point, I should probably say whether or not I think that you should step up to that premium luxury, and it's a little bit hard for me to say because I have not sampled this car with the rear steer and with the air ride suspension. I just was able to do kind of a U-turn there without needing the rear steer, although I could imagine in a larger vehicle like this that it would be pretty helpful, and I'm sure air ride suspension is quite nice as well. If you have the money, maybe you do want to opt for those things, but as we saw earlier, I am so impressed with all of what you get standard here. It's quote-unquote standard because the sport trim is very close to the luxury trim. In this Vistiq, you get the great stereo. I'm enjoying a nice massage right now. We do have Super Cruise as standard. They've actually made some big improvements to Super Cruise here on the Vistiq. It can now kind of follow the lanes a little bit better. I believe it can do like splits in the road, in the highway and stuff like that. It knows what lanes it needs to be in based on the route that you have in Google Maps already. So some really significant improvements to Super Cruise here with the Vistiq. I love that as well. So whether or not you want to step up to the premium luxury, that's up to you. What I will say is I don't know if you need to go all the way up to the platinum. You get Brembo brakes. We already talked about the paint options really not being that much better on that platinum trim, but Brembo brakes, I mean, this is a big three-row SUV. Yes, I know it does 0 to 60 in kind of a ridiculous time, so maybe you would like to have some better stopping power, but never while I've been driving this have I really thought to myself, oh my gosh, I can't stop in time. Like, no, it can stop all right, but it is kind of interesting, I guess, that you get Brembo brakes on that top platinum trim level. That's going to wrap up our time with the 2026 Cadillac Vistiq. Pricing for the base luxury trim level starts at just over $79,000. I do believe that the sport and luxury trims do qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit because they are under the $80,000 price cap. But I think if you add any options, you are going to go over that number. So maybe that just gives you incentives to order a base Vistiq, which honestly, the sport trim that we drove is only $500 more expensive than the luxury trim. So essentially we drove the base model, and I don't know if I think you need to upgrade because the other trims are quite expensive. I mentioned that the premium luxury trim gets air suspension and rear wheel steering and some other niceties as well, but it is $93,590 to start. That is a huge premium of $13,000. You get the head-up display, you get some other things, you get night vision. But honestly, I think the sport and luxury trims have most of what you're gonna need as standard, so I would strongly hesitate upgrading to them. Same goes for the Platinum, which is not available right at launch. That is a whopping $98,190, which I just think is too much for this car. I think now you're getting up into $100,000 territory. I think then you can maybe get the Cadillac Escalade IQ, which is bigger than this, has more power than this, and that way you're getting an Escalade. That is significantly more expensive even than the Vistiq Platinum. But the problem with that is you have vehicles like the Hyundai Ioniq 9 and the Kia EV6 that are so much less money and come with so many good features like the ones that you get in the Vistiq. I think the Vistiq is a nicer overall package. I just wish I was a little bit more impressed with the charging speeds of this vehicle because the power is there, the range is there, and it does drive really nice, and it is a really premium car. I think the one thing that Cadillac can bring to these lower level EVs is going to be some quicker charging. But let me know in the comments, would you buy the Cadillac Vistiq over, say, a Hyundai Ioniq 9, a Kia EV6? Would you buy it over a Rivian R1S? I want to hear from you in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And I'll see you next time.